Hi, my friend.
How's
How
it
are you?
going?
It's good. My name's Dan.
Ube, nice to meet you.
Ube, nice to meet you too. Thanks for taking the time
No,
to.
it's a pleasure to be here and to speak with somebody from the community that has kind of the same interest as I
isn't
do.
it cool to find that out that there's other people with the same thing? But let's start. How about we start by how we each got to Pelican or something like that?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So how about you start, Ube?
That's a great story. So, well, I'm from Cuba originally, and I moved to the States back in '06. So I went to Vegas. That's where we had family, and then I met my wife in Vegas.
In Vegas? Okay.
But she is originally from California and had moved here with her family when she was in 6th grade. So her family lives here. It's been here for a while now. And once we started having our children, we kind of looked online and we saw that Minnesota was like a top 5 state in the country to raise kids. And when we first came to Pelican, I told her, because I was like in the middle of my like doing music seriously, and I was like, within a year we have to at least move to somewhere St. Cloud, somewhere where I'm closer to the city. But I ended up loving Pelican so much that like we've been here since 2019, and like I'm not moving anywhere.
So that's close to how long I've been here. I think I came in end of 2020.
Okay.
But that's awesome. So Vegas, how long did you spend in Vegas?
About 13 years, I want to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a city, though, man.
It is, and
it isn't. Doesn't have everything.
I mean, when you're over there, like you barely go. Like you visit the Strip. You visit it when family comes over or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that,
Something to showcase.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, I came. I'm original born and bred Wisconsin boy. Ended up moving to the cities, to Minneapolis and specifically, in I think 2001.
Okay.
And that was because I was living in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was trying to get music going, trying to find bands. I just couldn't find the right people, and I was visiting my brother up in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And I met a couple of friends of his friends. And they were looking to start bands, and they were getting really serious about it. And then, so we started talking, and then I was like, man, I'm moving up here. Because there were so many bands everywhere you would look. There would be bands and shows going on. So that's what I wanted to do. So I formed a couple bands, played music for, I don't know, 10, 12 years, sort of rose in the circuit, and then ended up playing First Avenue main stage on a Saturday night, and that was just like that was my goal.
Okay.
And then I kind of everything sort of petered out after that because I was just like, I'm not really into it that much. So I went back to school for audio post production.
Okay.
And then ended up getting a job working in a post production house for another 8 years, and then circumstances changed down there, and we have relatives that live just outside of Pelican here on Star Lake, and we have been visiting quite a bit and really loved the area and found a piece of land, and then just ended up transferring up here before the girls started school. And I've got 2 young girls, and they're at the elementary school, and they've been loving it ever since.
There you go. That's awesome. So like your background with music is more of the band. How many members were in those bands? Because
the first one had 5 people, so it had keyboard, drums, 2 guitars, and bass.
Okay, so I'm guessing you play something, right?
Yeah, I play. In those instances, I played guitar and sang. The second band, which was called Estate, was our most successful one. That was just a guitar, a bass, and drummer. Okay. And then we had a bunch of samples going.
There you go.
Backing kind of tracks that we would trigger. But that was my main focus back then. Now it's more on music production side, hip hop, trip hop, soundtrack stuff. But we can get into more of that later. I'd like to hear how you got involved in music.
Music. So it's a long story. I started playing guitar when I was a boy in Cuba. I started going to this lady that would teach kind of like Mexican music, so rancheras, stuff like that.
Cool.
And I started learning that on the guitar. Then that kind of got a little boring because Mexican music back then wasn't my jam. So I just stopped going to those classes and started learning on my own with another guy in the high school I was going, not high school, junior high, that he was also learning on his own. And then just kept learning on my own, kind of like, self-taught, nothing crazy. I wasn't very good at it either. And that's how I got started. Then, I started singing at the high school where I was going. And then when I moved here, we started going to church in Cuba, and I started singing in church.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and there I met someone that actually was a real, guitar player. Like, went to school since he was a little boy through the, through the music school in Cuba. So he was a classical guitar player, but he also was amazing with the modern styles too, right? So he taught me a lot of stuff about music.
Bet, dude, having an expert like that.
Yeah, music, what's it called? Music theory. I learned a lot from him with that. And he was that awesome that he had perfect pitch, just Charlie Puth, and like how this is a big thing now here in and with the young people. Like he had perfect pitch.
Yeah,
I remember.
Isn't that crazy when you run into someone with perfect pitch? I've got great pitch. Yeah. I bet you've got great pitch, but perfect it's insane, especially when you play a note on the piano and they're like boop boop, 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 and they get it perfect.
Crazy. We were in a retreat once, and we had bells for different times. Like when there was lunch, there was a bell that would sound, and he would be like, that bell is a B flat. That type of phenomenon.
Like that is where it clicks in his head. That's great.
That's great. And through him I learned. Then when we came to the States, I kept playing in churches and such, and then in about 08 or 07, I was majoring in computer engineering at UNLV, and they had just done a minor in music technology. So I started with that, and I got into the recording studio. I started working for the recording studio, and I would record like big bands, jazz bands, and all of that stuff.
So
because I told the engineers in the recording studio, I want to learn this. So
they took you under their wing.
And there was one guy that helped me. His name is Gil Kopp.
Okay.
He's a trumpet player and also ran the studio and was a teacher at the school. And he taught me pretty much everything I know about mixing and all that.
Cool.
And, I would just, the songs that I would produce, I was getting started back then with producing music. He would then help me mix them and give me tricks and such. But there was also the other two guys that worked there really helped me out too, because I wouldn't, I would work on my one-on-one stuff with Gil, but the other two guys, when we had a big band, the jazz band for the UNLV that went there to record, and I would help them out. Nothing crazy, set up mics,
but
and
set
stuff
up
like
mics,
that.
and I mean, it's all super important stuff.
Yeah.
Now, was this studio one with one of the big mixing consoles and stuff like that? So you learned right from the top,
Yeah, mixing console, patch panel.
Yep, all the outboard gear.
Yep, the outboard gear, and they had also about 3-4 different rooms. They had a
my gosh! So it's a big facility.
Yeah, it's in the music building at UNLV, and
is it part of the university?
Yeah, it's part of the university.
Oh, that is a cool offering.
Yeah. Yeah, so I started doing music technology there. I didn't finish it because by the time I had learned and I was good enough to swim in the ocean, I started buying stuff to do my own recording studio.
Own stuff. That's what it always happens. You get that gear fever.
Yeah.
And you're like, once I get this next piece, I'm gonna sound pro.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I ran into a lot of that with trying to dial in my bass tone with a new bass that I had gotten a bunch of years ago. But anyways, continue with your journey.
No, like after that, I just started producing music, and I had a duo first where we would sing in Spanish. We started making music like. It was more Christian music, but it was the modern, Hispanic reggaeton, rap, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then none of that worked. I mean, we weren't doing it to get famous, but we also didn't get any support from the religious community, and so we started doing secular music.
Okay.
And then, I mean, we did it for a long time. I think it was like 7-8 years, and then I did it for another 5 years on my own after I moved over here.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
That's cool. And then did you find a different switch in your audience once you changed from worship music to
definitely
to secular?
Definitely. Because of that, I had to start studying how to promote the music, and
isn't that such an unfortunate side of things?
Yeah, I mean it is, but it was fun. It was fun because I'll tell you this. There's something that it's not that I'm proud of it, but I saw it with my own eyes. I was probably one of the first, and not for American music, but for Latin music, I was probably one of the first people to exploit like the Facebook ads and all of that stuff.
Oh, nice, dude. So you got ahead of the trend there.
Yeah, and I was able to grow a good audience too, doing like this type of. I'm probably one of the pioneers of doing this too for Latin music, but I never like looked into it because now it's pretty popular to do like your own versions of songs that are hot.
Okay.
Right? Like people on social media do that.
Yeah,
but,
they'll cover them.
Yeah, they'll cover them, but they'll add their own words or they'll do a different version. And I used to do that like a long time. You can go on my Instagram feed and go all the way like long time ago, and I used to do that, so.
What's your Instagram handle?
At Mr. Fernandez Music.
At Mr. Fernandez Music?
MR and then Fernandez Music.
Fernandez Music, cool.
Yeah, but just tell me about you now, because I've been hugging all the time.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. I love learning it. Pretty similar journey as far as how I got into music and stuff like that. So I was always just singing and dancing as a little one. And then my dad was always listening to like Deep Purple and like Inagata-Davida and old classic rock stuff. But so there's always music going on. But for one Christmas, I got this little Casio keyboard, and it's called a Casio SK1. So they're pretty famous. Okay. They're the first sampling keyboard. So you could record. Well, if I'm being honest, I record burps and then play different.
You can make
songs.
a 6-beat with burps.
You can. But that really started it, and then I had a tape deck, just a regular stereo tape deck that I could record the radio, but then I realized that there was a microphone built in, so I started singing into this tape recorder, and then my brother had the same one, and so I got this idea that I could record myself on one of them, then play it back while recording on the other one and sing over it, so I could do harmonies and stuff like that.
You were like overdubbing. And
I kind of like reinvented the wheel because I had no idea about recording. But after that, it was just a love of recording and music. Started on 4-track tape, and I jumped on the digital train really as soon as I could. Okay. This would be about like 1995. So things were just coming into range for the average consumer, like as far as computers and sound cards and stuff like that. So recorded a lot there, just scratch tracks and stuff like that. And then it just evolved from there. In about 2002, I believe, or 2003, a company called Ableton put out Ableton Live 1, and that just clicked with me. And I've been on it since, now they're in version 12. Yep. And it's evolved a ton, but the way that it works with audio and the way you edit and the way you move things around and are very flexible, it just worked with my creative.
Well, because you guys also like did a bunch of live music, so Ableton it's pretty friendly with.
Yeah, you can trigger different events and stuff like that, and you can also run video out of it.
Yep.
So we would run video in the background of the stuff that my bandmate Josh would make. But so I got into this band called Estate, and we did it's like electro pop type stuff, just kind of like more funky house kind of music. And we ended up recording 3 albums, all on our own. I think we went into a studio of our friends because he had just built one and he wanted to test it out, so we did some vocals there. But we had a lot of success with those albums, and we caught the attention of this representative from a place called Aperture Music out in LA. And what they do is they license music for film and television. And so from there, we licensed over 100 tracks.
Wow, that's cool.
And get the royalties from those.
Yeah.
So that's my big like success, you know. Recently I just finished a video game soundtrack for a video game called Project Last Stand. I did 101 tracks for that one. And then just put out 2 albums in the last couple months. So
that's awesome.
I've been staying busy. But like what happened was like when I moved out to the country and out to the farm, we're living in a single wide trailer. I didn't have a place for my music, so I was in the kitchen. And then one day I was scrolling Facebook Marketplace. I was looking for ambulances, so I was going to make a mobile recording rig.
Oh,
but
that's a great idea.
I know. I still think it is.
Yeah.
But they were a little out of my reach price range. But then this old, do you know those construction site trailers that are offices?
Yeah.
That are on the construction sites?
Yeah. They drop there for like a,
Yeah, for like the foreman and stuff like that, architect. I came across one of those for $1,000. And I snatched it up, and the crazy adventure of backing it through my woods, because it's huge. It's 50 by 10. And then so that was 2 years ago. And then I built it into a studio. And so that's what I've been working out of. But the only problem, there's no heat. So I have to heat it with like this kerosene wick heater and an old diesel RV heater. So the winters are rough out there. I'll tell you, like my hard drives freeze.
Oh man, that's rough.
But yeah,
invest in some solid state drives, because
exactly.
If you break the spinning ones, that's it.
Yeah, I know. And I just had 2 go down too.
There you go.
But yeah, the solid state's the way to go. The read write speed on those is just insane,
crazy,
and
right?
how durable they are.
Yeah.
So what kind of software and stuff are you using?
So because of the work that I did in the UNLV studio, where everything was like more on the traditional side, my experiences was with Pro Tools. They mainly used Pro Tools there because it's what like the clients that went in there requested, right? Pro Tools was the holy grail. I did not care for it too much, but that's what I studied mainly when somebody would come in to record. And then for my own stuff, I work with Logic.
Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of like now they've gone more toward the way that Ableton
with
did.
like triggered clips and stuff like that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, they've gone more on that way. But at the beginning, it was almost like a competitor to Pro Tools, and that's where I produced all my music and mixed it, mastered it.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. Yeah, that I was stuck working with Pro Tools for about 10 years. Got really good at it, and it's great for certain editing.
Yeah,
really like it for that, and sound design, because that's another side of what I do. I do sound design, so sound effects for like TV. Cartoons, video games, apps, stuff like that. It works really good for that. Because you can do a lot of tweaking and stuff like that. But mostly just Ableton Live all the way, and then I use Reason inside of Ableton.
Oh, okay.
Like you can load it inside now, but yeah.
Back then that was impossible.
Exactly.
Yeah, Reason was his own.
It was his own thing. You'd have to run it on a separate computer.
Yeah.
All that stuff, but no, that's fascinating. But like Logic is the big one for composers and stuff like that because of all their notation.
Yeah, they have
stuff.
that notation. Yep. If you do MIDI, you get the music right out of it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I really never, even though I did use a lot of MIDI tracks, I did not use the notation much. I would have friends that I played with before in church. that would help me with, like, if I had a piano part that I couldn't play because I was terrible at playing piano. I would, have a friend that actually was he's still alive.
No, that's
Is.
good. I'm glad.
Sorry, that's where the English goes out, out the window. He's still alive. He plays a violin, but he's another like crazy good musician, and he would help me with piano because he plays piano beautifully too. So yeah, and producing music, it has like, I mean, I'm pretty sure you felt that it's awesome when you're making a song and like you can't stop listening to it.
No, exactly, and you're listening to it anywhere you can because you're like super jazzed about it. But well, that brings up an interesting question because it's about faith and about the universe and connecting with music. But like a lot of times I can't really even remember writing this stuff. I feel like I channeled it from the universe. Do you ever have a similar experience like that, or are you really thought out in your process?
Well, the way I've never thought about it like that. I'll tell you that. I do like the way I go about making my music is that I like to make the music first. So if I have a beat, I like make the percussion sounds first, all that stuff, and then I try to get a groove with that, and then I try to add the chords whether it is a chord progression that I like, that I have already been like, oh, I like this, and have it ready, or if it's something that's a loop, it's something that because sometimes you gotta find inspiration from different places.
Oh,
right?
absolutely, absolutely.
So that's where I go about it, and I try to make a very simple layout of the song,
like an arrangement.
Yeah, like an arrangement, but nothing crazy. If it's like for example a reggaeton song, I just have a loop that changes from the chorus to the and then just have like 2-3 minutes of it.
Yep.
And over that, I write the lyrics. And then after the lyrics are done and I have a melody and everything is done, then I might work on the beat a little more to spice it up. Or I would record a song to have the voice, the guide ready, and then spice up the beat. So it's like kind of, it talks to each other, that way it's more connected,
Oh, yeah,
but sometimes
and
I would say that, like, to go back to what you asked about sometimes I would write something really good that I know was good and the melody was awesome, and sometimes it wasn't that good. So it's like,
that's the thing. You got to keep making, because you go through. I look at it that there's no bad song. There's just ones I'm not going to use or put out. And I'm like, well, I had to go through that one to get to the good one. Before I forget though, reggaeton, is that the beats like yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah. It's pretty simple to make, really.
But it's such an encompassing sound though. Like it really draws you in, and it's just not the 4/4.
Yeah.
Right? It's not
yeah,
but it's got such pulsing to it.
You can get creative with it too. This is the part where I am. I've gotten a little bit tired from it because music stopped being about quality and it became about quantity. With how everything came to be with the digital world and all of that, and social media, which added. Like, it's one of the reasons I'm done with social media.
Good for you, buddy.
Because I worked social media. I had to promote through it, and at one point, I think the algorithm changed twice when I was doing it, and I was like, I'm starting back at zero.
Yeah, back at zero, because they just ripped the whole rug out from underneath you.
So it's like reggaeton is nice. Like I have some songs that are mixed, like they have cumbia and reggaeton, and it's a good mix that you can get, and it's something that sounds really good, and it's something that evokes different types of emotions and stuff.
Oh yeah, it does.
But at some point, like, it became about more quantity than quality.
Yeah.
Because like
the only people posting.
Exactly. Well, being a musician that you don't have a label behind you.
Yep.
with millions of dollars to say, okay, we're going to release this album and we're going to put $2 million behind it to promote it and we're going to get it back.
Yep.
Right? Then you can focus on creating 50 songs, polishing them, and then picking the best 10 out of it.
The best 10, yeah. And, I think about that kind of funding, that level of funding. I think about like money as pressure. And with $2 million pushing behind you into the tubes, you're going to go a lot further than one guy trying to get momentum with $60 Facebook boosts.
Yeah. But it like the it's one of the main problems with the music industry is like the amount of money it takes, and it's not really about talent. It's about, do you have the money to put to make it.
Yeah.
Here it is. Here in
someone
front of
behind
people.
you pulling strings and all that. But but there is a sort of democratization of music on a certain level. And I'm not talking about that huge success, but like the fact that we all can put out our own stuff.
Yeah, that's
there's a
that's
certain
good.
cool movement, but you'll just never. It's so hard to jump to that next level of success. That's almost, you have to be preordained.
I had a label deal this past. I've been taking a break from it lately, but I did have a label deal. I went to Mexico, went to Colombia.
Nice.
Did a few things, but. It's like everything. The money that the label had ended up being spent before we were able to make a splash.
Exactly.
So it's like, because it's not like a Sony Music was behind me. It was friends that I had
put
met in the past, and they had it was like 2-3 people, and they had some money, and they were like, hey, I remember you were making music, we liked it, let's sign you, let's try to do something, we have some connections in Mexico. And I had the what do you call it? Is it the PR agent of like a lot of different stars in Mexico, but they're to your competing for attention, from that PR. So it's like money talks and everybody walks.
Everybody walks, and that's the thing. You brought up that you traveled to do music, and you're a traveler to begin with because you came from Cuba.
Yeah.
I've only traveled very briefly overseas musically. Like I went and toured in Romania on a goodwill tour with some Romanian bands, and one of the things that I wasn't surprised, but it made me feel super good, is that how people react to good music.
Yeah.
And how it's almost universal.
Yeah.
How music can be universal. Because I didn't know what the Romanian bands were saying. They didn't really know what we were saying, but we're all up front dancing and everyone else is dancing. But like the fact that musical, emotional connection is so universal. Did you find that when you were traveling?
Yeah, I mean, like the places I went to, they speak Spanish too, but like back in Vegas, we used to be invited, we used to be guests of this awards that was mainly for, I don't want to mischaracterize it. Remember, I think it was the name was the Rumi Awards. Rumi is like I want to say Indian poet. If I'm not mistaken, I may be. Don't take my word for it. But
that's okay.
He was someone that did poetry, and it was from from like Asia, that side of the world. And there was a lot of music that was from that side when we went to the awards. But every time that we performed at the awards, people would like get up and dance and get up on stage with us.
That's
and
awesome.
It's like they don't understand what we're saying, but they're having a lot of fun dancing to the music.
There's a lot of communication that goes on with music.
Yeah.
And you were somehow communicating with them and getting them pumped up. And I think it pumps up your spirit. I think that's one of the things that sort of lifts you up, is the spirit inside of you reacting in this positive way.
Yeah.
But,
so tell me a little bit more about the sound design and all the video game stuff that you're doing.
1 minute. You got it.
Micah invites us here to do the podcast, and then he's trying to take us out
he cuts us
when the
off.
Conversation's getting good.
Yeah. Well, we can talk later too, but basically, it's exactly what the name is: sound design. So each little footstep that gets placed, you're making and you're designing each element, the high, the mid, the low, the length, the volume, and all that stuff. So basically, it's just very meticulously placing in all these self-created sounds, and hopefully, when you're done, no one knows you were there. It's supposed to feel supernatural, unless you're doing a horror movie, and then it's. Those are really fun to do, by the way, because you can really flex your creative muscles.
There you go. Okay. What about the music licensing and stuff for video games?
Yeah, that
Is that hard to get into? I never tried to explore
we
that
got
part.
lucky, Ube. We got lucky. We got contacted on MySpace
There you go.
from a guy who saw one of our music videos.
Good
or
old
something.
MySpace.
Yeah, and that's a trip. It can be hard, but it's getting easier. There's more and more opportunities through places that you may put out your album onto the streaming services, like places like CD Baby. But I know our time here is short.
Yeah.
Ube, it has been.
It's been a pleasure.
A pleasure and
Hopefully,
an honor.
Mike invites us back for round 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that. This was great, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to have made your acquaintance.
Same here.
Yeah,
Same
I'll
here.
grab your phone number too. And
There
then-
you go. Yeah. We should exchange numbers for
I love
sure.
it. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.